Acceptance and tolerance and forgiveness, those are life-altering lessons. The natural state of motherhood is unselfishness. When you become a mother, you are no longer the center of your own universe. You relinquish that position to your children. I regret those times when I've chosen the dark side. I've wasted enough time not being happy. This idea of selfishness as a virtue, as opposed to generosity, that, to me, is unnatural. The only place I've felt was really my home is my cabin up north. There's something in the water there that connects me to that place. There's also this sense of isolation and loneliness about it that I've never been able to shake. For me, nothing has ever taken precedence over being a mother and having a family and a home. For me, acting was always a way to explore emotions, to dip into the well and really try to reach rock bottom down there. That was the most exciting part of it. I hadn't found anything that really allowed me to do that until I came upon acting. At a certain age, death becomes familiar to you, or a loss becomes familiar, the tragedies that are more commonplace in life. The worst is when I talk myself into something. Sometimes you take things because you want to work with a certain actor, or you want to work with a director, even if the script or the part's not that great. Families survive, one way or another. You have a tie, a connection that exists long after death, through many lifetimes. I never shot on sets, but if I was traveling somewhere or on location, would always have my camera, and I'd always be. It's that kind of fly-on-the-wall approach to photography, though. I don't engage the subject. I like to sneak around, skulk about in the dark. I am tortured when I am away from my family, from my children. I am horribly guilt-ridden. There are no explanations, there are no answers. To work on the actual location I think is great. This thing of going to Canada and pretending you're in New York, it's terrible. Your children are grown and your career has slowed down. All the stuff that took up so much attention is gone, and you're left with expansive time and space. You have to reimagine who you are and what life is about. When I am home for like a 2-year stretch, I get antsy, because I want to work. Allow the diversity to exist. There is nothing wrong with it. Hell, we put up with the religious right, we can put up with transgendered human beings. I have been a waitress, and I was a damn fine waitress too, let me tell you. I've got nothing left to lose at this point. The work I've done is out there. In families there is always the mythology. My father died when my kids were quite young still, and yet they still tell his stories. That is how a person lives on. I had never done Shakespeare before, but I don't think you can be an actor and not do it. There were moments when I thought, I'm just not going to be able to pull this off. One of the things I love about acting is that it reveals a certain something about yourself, but it doesn't reveal your own personal story. Because Shakespeare's language is so expansive, we're under this misconception that it's difficult. But I discovered that it's easy because it's so brilliantly written. The words are perfect, and the language is intelligent and very emotional. It comes down to something really simple. Can I visualize myself playing those scenes? If that happens, then I know that I will probably end up doing it. I've worked with some teachers and coaches over the years, but I didn't really study theater or technique or voice or any of that stuff extensively. I've been thinking a lot about next year, which will be the first time in 25 years that I don't have a child at home. I love being a mother. I loved being a daughter, a sister, a wife. I love being a woman with men. I love having given birth. Sometimes parts just come along when it's the perfect time for you to do them. It was easier to do Shakespeare than a lot of modern movie scripts that are so poorly written. I never think of the future. I never imagine what comes next. Sometimes the odds are against you. The director doesn't know what the hell he's doing, or something falls apart in the production, or you're working with an actor who's just unbearable. I never felt like I belonged in Minnesota when I was growing up there. That's why I was out the door as soon as I turned 18. To stay interested in acting, I have to keep trying stuff I've never done before. I've never been a sunny personality. I've never been outgoing. I'm a solitary person. There was that feminist myth that we can do everything. I don't think you can. I worked on my voice for Sweet Dreams, but only to match my speaking voice to Patsy's actual singing voice. That was my way into that character. To my mind, the election was stolen by George Bush, and we have been suffering ever since under this man's leadership. Successful model? That's a myth. The year I modeled was the most painful year of my life. Editors would always talk to you in the third person as though you were merely a piece of merchandise. To work with a director that has emotional commitment and passion toward the characters, and the piece, and the experiences, it only enriches your work. TV is sort of the only way to go for an actress my age to make a decent salary. With independent films, you just can't. We are not the originators of the story. I think it's actually the opposite when you're an actor. You're telling somebody else's story. All through life I've harbored anger rather than expressed it at the moment. Once I started on Francis, I discovered it was literally a bottomless well. It devastated me to maintain that for 18 weeks, to be immersed in this state of rage for 12 to 18 hours a day. It spilled all over, into other areas of my life. If I didn't have children I'd be a much better actress. I wouldn't be so distracted. I could pour 100% of my energies into it, to promote the investigation which acting is. I could be making a lot more money now if I had chosen a different kind of movie, but none of that matters to me. I've done the parts one wanted to do. I have made decisions based from purely an actor's point of view. Photography was a blessing because it filled my time. If I had to start over, I'd pursue photography, probably to the exclusion of acting. Box office success has never meant anything. I couldn't get a film made if I paid for it myself. So I'm not box office, and never have been, and that's never entered into my kind of mindset. I like playing characters who are out there on the edge, where they can explode at any moment or fall off the precipice. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.